Well, good morning. Last week, you people over here, no screen. This week, you people right here, no screen. I suggest that you people move over there next week, because next week's your turn. Clearly, there's going to be no screen. They told me, they said, hey, we got to order a part. I said, is that the right one? Because we'd hate to have this happen 2 weeks in a row. And Pastor David said, I'm positive. I said, did you actually check? Oh, yeah, I'm positive. I wouldn't count on it being a good week next week. Probably no screen over there. Well, we're in a series called Two Truths and a Lie. Can we have them up there? Let's see. Two truths, the screen. Hey, there we go. No, wrong one. Other one. Let's try the other one. There we go. That's the one I want. This is Angie Schiller. Angie, stand up. How many of you know Angie Schiller? Oh, yeah. You should be able to do this, no problem. Are you ready? Here we go. I was salutatorian when I graduated high school, missing valedictorian by 1/10 of a point. Ooh, close. Once on vacation with my family, I was left at a Meijer store for over 2 hours when I was 5 years old. I could see how that would happen. They're going to the cottage, they stop for food. They get back in the van. It seems unusually quiet. But they go all the way to the cottage. They put the food away. They say, let's have hot dogs over the fire. They make a fire. They get the hot dogs all ready. They're cooking, and somebody says, where's Angie? When did we see her last? Wow. Great story. Number 3, I almost got arrested in Mexico on spring break. Now that I can believe. Your job is to pick the one that's the lie. I was salutatorian when I graduated high school, missing valedictorian by 1/10 of a point. Once on vacation with my family, I was left at a Meijer store for over 2 hours when I was 5 years old. I almost got arrested in Mexico on spring break. Here we go. You have to vote. Don't be a putz, and not vote. You got to vote. Here we go. How many of you think I was salutatorian when I graduated high school, missing valedictorian by 1/10 of a point is the lie? Let me see your hands. You don't think she's very bright, do you? You think, no way! She went to a school where there was only 12 in her graduating class. Come on. How many of you think once on vacation with my family, I was left at a Meijer store for over 2 hours when I was 5 years old is the lie? How many of you think that's the lie? Quite a few of you. We are divided in this room. How many of you think I almost got arrested in Mexico on spring break is the lie? Well, less of you. More of you believe that that could be true. The lie is number 1. Well, thank you, Ruthie, for letting us know. Okay, other screen. Okay, here we go. These are mine. My first job was at a grocery store making $1.80 an hour. Number 2, I once ate 27 pieces of pizza at a Pizza Hut lunch buffet. Number 3, I was on the dean's list every semester in college and seminary. It's kind of hard to know, isn't it? The whole point of this is lies are hard to spot. Like lots of you were wrong on Angie's. But mine's so obvious. Here we go. How many of you think my first job was at a grocery store making $1.80 an hour is the lie? Wow, not very many of you. How many of you think I once ate 27 pieces of pizza at a Pizza Hut lunch buffet is the lie? How many of you think I was on the dean's list every semester in college and seminary is the lie? I see what you think. I see how it is. The lie is number one, which almost none of you picked. That was my second job. And I got a raise from $1.80 because by law they made him do it, and my raise was to $1.96 and a half. A half a penny. And I thought, well, surely he'll round it up to 2. No. Well, I thought he'll surely round it up to $1.97. No. He multiplied hours by $1.96.5, and then he rounded down. Unbelievable. That was the lie. That was not my first job. That was my second job. You say you really ate 27 pieces of pizza at a Pizza Hut lunch buffet? Yeah, and I counted. And I had breadsticks and salad, but who's talking about that? You were on the dean's list every semester in college and seminary? Yeah. Here we go. Lies are hard to spot. They are hard to spot. And here's the deal. There's a lot of lies going on. Lots of them. The devil's behind a lot of it. I'm going to say probably not all of it, but a lot of it. He's behind a lot of the deception that has to do with God, with the Bible, and with our spiritual lives. The devil's behind a lot of the deception. This is what he does. So I'm taking you to passages in the Bible where it talks about this clearly. Can't miss it. Here we go. James chapter 1. Grab your Bibles and go to James chapter 1. Thanks for coming back from the nursery, Angie. Do you have to go back? Okay. Everyone say, bye, Angie. You say, doesn't this embarrass people? Angie came to me and said, could I please do this because I like to be on display? You say, that's not true. That is the truth. She said, can I please do this? Here we go, James chapter 1. Verse 13, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when, by his own evil desire, he is dragged away and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Then verse 16, don't be deceived, my dear brothers. I've been going to these passages where it talks about deception. And you say, Pastor McNeil, don't be deceived looks like it's in the next paragraph. Yeah, a lot of Bibles did that. Not all of them, but a lot of them did that. They took the phrase and put it with the next paragraph. But I'm pretty sure they're mistaken. I'm pretty sure that the phrase goes with the paragraph we read. There's a lot of deception about how sin works in our lives. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. Here we go in your notes. The lie is, God made me like this. That is, somehow the blame goes back to God. It's not that we're saying we never sin. That's not it. Most people will admit that they sin. The thing is, we'd like to put the blame somewhere else. It's a very common thought today that somehow what's happening in my life is God's fault. Sometimes people in the church who believe in God's sovereignty believe this because they say, well, God's in control. He set this up. If this situation is in front of me, God did it. Somehow, It's God's fault. He put me here. He made me like this. I have all these desires and all these drives, and God did this. This is God. It's what happened back in Genesis chapter 3 with the first sin, with Adam and Eve. When God said, hey, what's going on down here? Did you guys eat the fruit from that tree I told you shouldn't eat from? You remember what Adam said. Adam said, the woman that you put here with me. There's a double blame. The woman that you put here with me. It's her fault, and ultimately it's your fault because you put her here with me. If you'd have put a different person with me, this would have gone differently. It's your fault, God. And if not, it's her fault, but it's really your fault. So God turns and he says to Eve, what is this that you've done? And Eve said, the serpent deceived me. But the implication is the same. Adam and Eve knew they were created. They knew the world was created. This is right at the beginning of creation. They know that if the serpent is there, Satan is there, that God made him. Eve says, the serpent, the devil you made, he deceived me. This is your fault. Maybe the devil's fault, but your fault too, God, because you did this. This is a very, very common lie today. When we fail, when we sin, that somehow it's God's fault. And this specific lie, God made me like this, very common. Here's the truth. The truth is, God created us perfectly. When we get to the end of the creation week, God looks over everything that He's made and He says everything was very good. Everything that He had made was very good. Simply stated, we can't blame God. We can't blame God. God didn't make someone angry. Say, I've been angry. I was even angry, an angry little kid. God didn't do that. We can't say that God made someone fearful. Well, I've always been fearful. I've always been a worrier. God did that. No. No. We can't say that God made someone gay. No. God didn't do that. God didn't make us sinners. God made someone transgender. This is how God made me. No. God made someone with an addictive personality. Well, God created me, and I have this addictive personality. God made me this way. No. We can't say God made me selfish. I've always been selfish. Perhaps, but God didn't make us that way. God made me irritable. I've always been impatient. This is just how God wired me. No. We cannot say that. We were created perfectly. But I want to say, I see how someone might say this. Because they might look back and see this as their experience. As long as they can remember, it's always seemed like this is who they were. Well, we're born sinful, but that's not how we were created. We were created perfect. Here's the truth, right in your notes. God never causes us to sin. Never. It's against His character. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for reason, God cannot be tempted by evil, and, number 2, nor does He tempt anyone. The author's stating 2 reasons. He's trying to make it very clear that this is not a part of who God is. No, we can't say that this was done by God, because God cannot be tempted by evil. Evil has no part in who God is. It's absolutely outside everything that He is. There's no possible way that God would cause us to sin. And then He just states it, nor does He tempt anyone. And that's very important, because He's going to go on to say how sin happens. The truth of the matter, the point is, we can't blame God. We can't blame other people. It's me. Everyone in the room, just say, it's me. It's me. Yes, it is. You say, what do you mean it's me? I mean, it's me who chooses to sin. I choose to be impatient. It's not Cindy's fault. It's not my kid's fault. It's not the waitress's fault. It's me. It's not God's fault. He didn't make us so that we were bound to sin. It's not how it went down. God made everyone perfectly. He would never make us so that we have to sin. That's against everything that God is. The truth is, it's me. Everybody say it. It's me. That was kind of weak. Is it that you don't believe it? Everybody say it. It's me. It's me. Well, that was loud. Yes, it is. Lie number 2. It's different for me. Lie number 2 is, it's different for me. Somehow, Pastor McNeil, I don't think you understand how this works. I know how you talk about it, but I know how I experience it in my life, and Pastor McNeil, it's different from me. I see other people, but they're not in the same situation I'm in. They're not the same kind of person that I am. They don't have the same desires and drives that I have. Somehow, it's different for me. Well, James addresses that. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does He tempt anyone. But each one, see how he makes it all of us? Each one, everyone. Each one is tempted when by his own evil desires. He doubles up again. He doesn't want any one of us, any one of his readers, to miss the point here. He said, it's not different for you. Each one, every one of us, it's our own evil desire that creates the problem of sin. The lie is, it's different for me. No. All of us collectively and each one of us individually choose to sin. It's not harder for you and easier for me. Easier for you and harder for me. It's not that. It's exactly the same. You say, but our situations are different. Yes, but we all face the same enemies. The world, society around us with its pull against God, the devil, and flesh, which is what he wants to talk about today, the thing that's happening inside us. So here's the truth. The truth is, everyone's struggles with sin are similar. Everyone's struggles with sin are similar. Now, I want you to know I'm not saying everyone struggles with the same sin. I'm not saying that. That's not true. I am saying that our struggles with sin are similar. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, he says, no temptation has seized you, but such as is common to man. Temptation works the same way. Sin works the same way. And sin isn't just a single act. I think sometimes we like to look at sin, think about sin, and think about it's one act. It isn't. Sin's a process. And it will help us to see it as a process. So James writes it out like that. In fact, sin has common patterns. I put it right in your notes. Sin has common patterns. They're not unique. You're not special. I'm not special. I know some of you, your parents told you we're special, but we're not special. We're just people, we're just human beings. He says there's a pattern. There are common patterns to sin. See how he says it. He says each one is tempted. That's number one. Each one is tempted when by his own evil desire, that's number two, he is dragged away and enticed. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. That's the action. That's number three. There's the temptation. There's the desire. There's the action. And then he says, when full grown, it gives birth to death. That's number five. Wait, you say we missed one. Yes, we did. It's not in this passage, but I want you to put it in your list because it's so common. Number four, put a little star there next to number four. Number four is the cover-up. This is how the pattern works very, very often. There's a temptation, there's desire, there's the act of sin itself, the choice itself, then there's the cover-up, and then there's the judgment, what he calls death. That just means the judgment of God. Now, we're going to come right back here to James chapter 1, so put your hand there and go back to Joshua chapter 7. Grab your Bibles and do this with me. Go back in the Old Testament to Joshua. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, 6 books in. The children of Israel are making their way into the promised land. They wipe out Jericho, which is a huge city. Remember, they march around it 7 times on the 7th day and the walls fall down. Big battle, miraculous deliverance. Then chapter 7, they go fight at a little place called Ai. It's kind of like Ferry. There's a little place. And it doesn't go well. And the reason it doesn't go well is because somebody sins. Now I want to jump into the passage and just have you read with me how the guy talks about his sin. We're in chapter 7, verse 20. Achan replied, "It is true, I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel. This is what I have done. When I saw in the plunder a beautiful robe from Babylon, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold weighing 50 shekels, that was the temptation. When I saw that, I coveted them." That was the desire. "And I took them." That was the act of stealing and doing what God specifically told them not to do. Don't take any of the plunder from Jericho. "They are hidden in the ground inside my tent." He had to cover it up. They're hidden under my tent floor. The end of the story, after the cover-up, the judgment of God is that he and his whole family die. It's how it goes down. It's true in the story of David. He sees Bathsheba, temptation. He wants her, desire. He takes her, the sin, the action. Then he has to cover it up. So he lies, and he has her husband killed. Then the end, death and destruction into the family of David. It happened back in Genesis 3. They saw the fruit on the tree. They desired it. They took it. Then they had to cover up. Remember how they made clothes? It's the cover up. Like God won't notice. Something's a little different. The end. The wages of sin is death. There's a pattern. It's a process. It's not a one-time act. Here we go. Number one, there's the temptation. Could be something we see. We see a new car. Kim Hayner has a new car. We see it. Think, I wish I got a new car. You say, I didn't know he got a new car. It's the one running in the parking lot. Take a look on your way out. You see a new car, and you want a new car. You wish it was your new car. You hear something. Someone speaks, prickly, with tone. And it does something inside you. You want to say something back. You read something, a thought occurs to you, you have a feeling, a situation happens. I'm driving down US 31 north of Ludington where it's 55 degrees, 55 miles an hour. Might have been 55 degrees too, who knows? The speed limit's 55 and I'm going 55-ish. And somebody on a side road, I see them. I'm going 55-ish. They pull out in front of me. Does this ever happen to you? They pull out in front of me and they are not going 55-ish. They're going 5-ish. When I catch up to them, they're going 25-ish. Scott, have you ever had this happen to you? People pull out in front of you and they're not going the speed by the time you get there. I look behind me and there's a mile of empty road. Does this ever happen to you? It's a mile of empty road. They could have waited 5 seconds and pulled out behind me, but instead they pulled out in front of me. And that's a temptation to me. It's a temptation to Cindy, too. I heard her say bad words from the seat next to me. Well, I heard bad words come from someplace. Might have been an echo, I don't know. These are just temptations. You have them happen too. We can laugh, but you're having them happen too, right? You have some trial that's going on, some difficulty in your life. It's just a temptation. That party or that invitation to the party and all that's going to go on at the party, that's just a temptation. That girl or guy, sometimes they can be a temptation. Something on our phone or our TV. This is how the process starts with a temptation. Temptation is not the sin. It's not a sin to be tempted. It's just the start of the process. Number 2, there's desire. The reason that temptation works is because we desire the thing that we're being tempted to do. If we don't desire it, temptation wouldn't work. You can't tempt me with a dish of beets. You can't do it. You can cook them different ways. You can cover them up. You can waft it in front of you. You cannot tempt me. And here's why. I hate beets. But you can tempt me to be impatient, to be selfish, to be irritable. The temptation links. He uses the idea of mates. It mates with our desire. Somebody does something mean, something inside us wants to respond to the temptation to get even. We hear or see somebody do something we would never do, and immediately we have a desire to put them down and put us up. That's why we judge. The temptation presents itself, and something in us wants to put them down and put us up. Our child does something really good. They do something really special, and something in us wants to be proud of them. We get asked a tough question, and something inside of us doesn't want to give the truthful answer. We don't want to give the truthful answer because the truthful answer is going to create difficulty. And hence the temptation. We hear something really, really juicy about somebody, and something inside us wants to tell someone else. The temptation is not the sin, but it mates with our desire. And that leads, number 3, to the action. We actually do the evil. We covet the truck or the house or the girl or the job. We look at the porn. We say something or post something unkind. We talk about somebody in the negative. We take something that doesn't belong to us. We think that judgmental thought. That is the action of sin, but it's in a process. And then often, number 4, it leads to a cover-up. It's not in this passage, I know that. But it is in lots of other passages. We've done something sinful, and now we have to often sin to cover it up. You say, I don't think so. Just think about any affair. The affair is a sin. There's almost always a sinful cover-up to the sin itself. You tell a lie, you often have to tell another lie to cover up for the first lie. And number 5, the result is death, he says. That's the judgment of God. There is going to be a judgment of God. He just says death. It's deadly. It's destructive. There's going to be a price to pay. Now, I just want to stop and say, okay, Pastor McNeil, you're telling us all this. What do we do? Here's the thing. There's no place to write this in there. I know it, but here's the key. You have to stop the process as soon as you know what's going on. As soon as you realize you're caught in the process, stop. If a temptation happens and you can spot it as a temptation, stop right then and say, no, I am not that kind of person. If you don't realize it's going on until the temptations happen and your desire is kicking in, you think, I want to do this. But you realize it right there. This isn't right. Stop. If you don't realize it until you've actually done the sin, stop. Don't try to cover it up. That won't make it better. Stop and confess it. Tell God you're sorry. Repent. If you realize you've gone all the way and you're into the cover-up too, stop. Don't wait for God to have to bring this into the open. Number 3, the third lie. I'll be happier if I sin. I'll be happier if I sin. Sin looks enticing. He uses terms here. He says, everyone is dragged away and enticed. Those are like fishing terms. There's a shiny bait. Temptation comes like a shiny bait. We don't see the pain of the hook. The pain of the hook is there. We don't see it because it looks shiny. It looks fun. I'll be happier if I drink, smoke, gamble, do marijuana. It's not illegal. I'll be happier if I move in with my boyfriend or girlfriend. If I have that affair, if I get that divorce, I'll be happier. I'll be happier if I lie so that I can make that sale, get that deal, get out of trouble. I'll be happier. Here's the truth. The fun of sin will not last. Now, for all the young people in the room, there is a fun of sin. I know some people are trying to tell you it's not true, but I'm just going to admit the truth of it. There is a fun to sin. Make no mistake. There's a fun to sin, of course. But it won't last. And the consequences will be less fun. Think there's no consequences? Is that what you think? No consequences? Well, maybe not now. Maybe you can't see them, but they're coming. As sure as the hangover from a drunken party, the consequences of sin comes. The affair will produce a hurt spouse, hurt kids, less respect, less trust. The consequences will come. Oh, the consequences will come. An old-time pastor said, sin takes you farther than you want to go. It costs you more than you want to pay. It keeps you longer than you want to stay. Sin just looks good at the beginning. Again, can I say to all the young people in the room, premarital sex works like a time-release guilt capsule. Say what? Premarital sex, sex before you're married, works like a time-release guilt capsule. The guilt will come. So I don't feel guilty now. You will. There are consequences to sin. God says, He won't make you happier. The end result is death. Which leads us to number 4. The lie. I can get away with sin. It's a lie. Say, my parents won't find out. Usually they will. My spouse won't find out. Usually they will. My friends won't find out what I said. Usually they will. My boss won't find out what I did. Usually they will. But sometimes it seems like we got away with it. Here's the truth. Our sin displeases God. He knows. And He's going to make sure the consequences are real. This isn't about whether we can fool our parents or our spouse. It isn't about that. The results of sin are destructive. The Bible uses the word death. I'm actually softening it to say destructive. We live in a world of divine justice. It's the way the world is. It's a world of divine justice. One day God's going to make all this right. So in the end, one of the main reasons we sin is we don't accept the responsibility that the choice is ours. Say, why are you teaching this morning? Because so many of us say things like this, they make me so mad. No, that's not how it goes down. They really know how to push my buttons. Nope, that's not how it goes down. Once we can actually accept that I'm responsible for my choices, I'm responsible for how I respond to the temptation. I'm responsible. The sooner that we can accept that we're responsible for our actions and our attitudes, the sooner we have a chance to start saying no. One of the main reasons we fail to change, one of the main reasons people fail to change in their marriage is because they're blaming their spouse. And as long as we blame our spouse, we don't have to take responsibility and make the change that is ours to make. One of the reasons homes are struggling is because parents are saying it's the kids' fault. These kids don't obey me. That's like a truism. Of course your kids don't obey you. That's their job. You tell them what to do, they say no. It's kind of like the job description of a child. The truth is, we have to accept responsibility for not making them do what they're told, when they're told, with the right attitude. Okay, our spouse is being difficult today, but we have to take responsibility for how we're responding to their difficult. It's about me. It's me. This isn't Ryan, it's me. It isn't Steve. Well, it might be Steve. It isn't Steve. It's me. Don't you see? Sin's a process. The sooner we stop it in the process by taking responsibility and saying no, the sooner we can be the people that please God. We're deceived if we think this is God's fault or somebody else's fault. We're deceived if we think we'll get away with this. We're deceived if we think somehow doing this in the end will make us happier. No, it will not. Sin always comes with pain. The sooner we realize, then the sooner with God's help we can get victory. Do you think we sang that last song in our list of songs by accident? I need you every hour I need you. Did you pray this morning and ask God to help you? Because you're a dirty, rotten sinner and you need God's help? You say, no, I didn't say that. I did. And I meant it. Because I know how difficult Steve is. And if I'm going to be around Steve on Sunday, I'm going to need God's help. Let's stand together. Father, I pray that you will help us to be aware of the processes going around us. And Father, learn to say no to the temptation and no to our own desire, which is pulling us toward the temptation, not away from it. Father, help us say no sooner than we have. Help us to do it to please you, to honor you, and I ask that you'll help us. In Jesus' name, amen.